Welcome back to NFL Jeopardy. I am your host, NFF. It is once again time to test your NFL knowledge. This is, of course, a play-along video, and here are the rules. Make sure to keep your scores and comment below how many points you finished with, and let me know how you did. Without further ado, let's take a look at today's categories. Up first, of course, we have last week's final Jeopardy category. We have colorful names. This, of course, is a category consisting of players whose last names are also colors. Then we got MVPs, offensive linemen, ballers. Notice the BA in quotations because all the players' last names are going to begin with the letters BA. And last, we got NFLSU. All of the answers are going to be players who are alumni of Louisiana State University. Without further ado, let's do the 200-point round. Let's start with colorful names. Before becoming the host of everyone's favorite internet segment, CTESPN, this Steelers receiver went 36 straight games with at least 5 catches and 50 yards. No one in NFL history has more than 16. Who is Antonio Brown? If you guys don't follow Antonio Brown on Twitter, you really don't need to. You're not missing out on much. Let's do MVPs for 200. No surprise here. The oldest league MVP is also the league's oldest Super Bowl MVP and the league's oldest Pro Bowler. That is, of course, Tom Brady. Let's go to offensive lineman for 200. At the time of his retirement, this man had the most Pro Bowl selections by a lineman in league history. He was also the first Bengals player to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Who is Anthony Munoz? Let's go to ballers for 200. When the Giants took on the Jets in New York, this running back's dad had no problem rooting against his son's team and sporting his Joe Namath jersey. Who is Saquon Barkley? I'm not gonna lie, one of the funniest times of my life is when the Jets played the Giants and Saquon Barkley finished with 1 yard and Sam Darnold finished with 25 rushing yards, and then I was telling everyone that Sam Darnold rushed for 25 times as many yards as Saquon Barkley did. And let's finish off our 200s with NFLSU for 200. In 2021 and 2022, these two former Tigers consecutively broke the NFL rookie receiving yards record. Who are Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase? I had to get them both in on this category, but I felt like they were both such obvious answers, they had to both be the 200-point clue together. Let's keep it moving. Let's do our 400-point round. Here's colorful names for 400. In his 20 NFL seasons, this cornerback recorded 54 interceptions. He, however, is mostly known for being the only undefeated multiple-time winner of the NFL's fastest man competition. Who is Darrell Green? Let's move on to MVPs for 400. This player is the only player to have won the MVP trophy for 2 different teams. He also is the only quarterback to have reached the Super Bowl with multiple franchises with multiple starts for each franchise. Who is Peyton Manning? I was kind of shocked by that stat, that there's only been one person to win the MVP with 2 different teams. I thought that was kind of weird. Let's do offensive lineman for 400. This Cowboys guard holds the rare distinction of having more Pro Bowl selections than holding penalties in his career. Who is Zach Martin? Let's go to ballers for 400. This former Husky got his nickname because his mom thought he looked like a doll, resembling this South Asian historical figure. That is, of course, Buda Baker. Now let's do NFLSU for 400. Despite stating in 2013 he was done with the Honey Badger nickname, this Tiger has never quite been able to shake the name throughout his now 11-year career. That is, of course, Tyrann Mathieu. That's the end of our 400-point round. Hopefully you guys are doing well, but let's move right into our 600-point round. Here's colorful names for 600. In his first career start, This quarterback threw for 405 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win over the Bengals. He became the first Jets quarterback to win Offensive Player of the Week since Vinny Testaverde. Who is Mike White? Listen, as a Jets fan, that was probably the most random game of my life. Like, we had no business winning that game, and Mike White came in and just carved the Bengals for no reason. Let's do MVPs for 600. Since 2000, this man is the only MVP to win the Super Bowl the same year he won MVP. It happened last year, so hopefully you remembered. Who is Patrick Mahomes? Here's offensive lineman for 600. This pancake man was the first lineman since 1968 to be drafted first overall. After he was so dominant in college, he finished 4th in Heisman voting. Who is Orlando Pace? Now let's do ballers for 600. This Buccaneer is the only player in NFL history with at least 45 interceptions and 25 sacks. Who is Rondé Barber? And now let's do NFLSU for 600. In 2019, this Tiger broke a major single-season record previously set by Colt Brennan. That is, of course, Joe Burrow. That was mostly just to see if you guys remembered Colt Brennan. That guy was a dog. That's the end of our 600-point round. Let's move right on to our 800-point round. Let's do colorful names for 800. In 1925, this galloping ghost became the last player to play both college football and in the NFL in the same season. The next year, they passed a rule named after him forbidding players from doing the same. A little tricky with this one, it's actually his first name, who is Red Grange. Here's MVPs for 800. The first quarterback to win the MVP award was this man, who the Baltimore Colts made an 80-cent long-distance call to sign when he was a free agent. Hopefully that 80 cents was worth it for them. Who is Johnny Unitas? So here's a fun fact, and this is super random. There's only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL Hall of Fame who share the same middle name. I'll give you a hint. It's Johnny Unitas and someone else. See if you can guess it real quick. I'll give you a second. Yeah, you're wrong. It's Dan Marino. Do you know what their middle name is? Constantine. What? Dan Constantine Marino and Johnny Constantine Unitas. Isn't that kind of random? Here's offensive lineman for 800. This lineman played 10,363 consecutive snaps, was voted to 10 Pro Bowls, and was a 6-time first-team All-Pro. Despite this, he played a whopping 0 playoff games in his career. Hopefully you haven't forgotten him already, who is Joe Thomas. Let's move on to ballers for 800. Remembered as one of the more bizarre 1,000-yard receivers of the 2010s, this Browns tight end still holds the franchise record for touchdowns by a tight end in a single season. At one point seen as one of the best tight ends in the league, who is Gary Barnidge. And now to NFLSU for 800. The NFL's leading punt returner in 2011, this Tiger won the Bednarik and the Thorpe Awards during his time at LSU. Who is Patrick Peterson? That's it for the 800-point rounds. It's time to do the hard round. It's time for the 1,000-point round. Let's get into it. Here's colorful names for 1,000. In 2014, making his debut, this man would block a punt and return it for a touchdown. In the next month, he'd catch a touchdown and rush for a touchdown, becoming the only Texan with a rushing, receiving, and return touchdown in the same season. Who is Alfred Blue? Let's do MVPs for 1,000. This 1982 MVP, known for his unconventional way of playing the position, is the only player from his position to ever win the MVP award. the only kicker to win the MVP award, who is Mark Mosley. Let's move on to linemen for 1,000. This lineman was known for his unbelievable athleticism, as he was able to bench 700 pounds, but also ran a 4.85 40 and had a vertical leap of 30 inches. That is the late, great Larry Allen. Rest in peace to Larry Allen, of course. He used to follow me on Instagram, so we've had a couple conversations. Super nice guy. He will be missed. Let's move on to ballers for 1,000. After his football career with the Cowboys, Texans, Jaguars, Bears, and Cardinals, this cornerback turned safety, turned back to cornerback, competed on Survivor's 35th season, Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers. Perhaps the most fitting name in this category, who is Alan Ball. You know, ballers, ball. That was so stupid. Let's finish off the board. Let's do NFLSU for 1,000. The longest a Tiger has spent in the NFL was 17 years by this man, who still holds the record for most touchdown passes in a game. That is, of course, Y.A. Tittle. That concludes our regular Jeopardy round. Let's take a look at our category for Final Jeopardy. NFL quotes. I am going to give you the quote and you have to tell me who said the quote. Go ahead and make your wagers based on NFL quotes. All right, Final Jeopardy. Here is your clue. What's playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. An iconic response after his Colts lost to the 49ers and their record dropped to 4-6 on the season. That is, of course, from Jim Mora. Make sure you subscribe for more NFL content. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Stay blessed and humbled. XOXO Hags.